I woke up expecting pain. Humans always do after surviving something they shouldn't. Instead, I woke up to quiet, too quiet, and a ceiling that curved like the inside of a pearl. Soft light breathed in slow pulses, not bright enough to hurt my eyes, not dim enough to hide the fact that I was very much not on any ship I recognized. My body felt maintained. Not healed, maintained. Every muscle hummed like it had been tuned instead of repaired. That alone should have scared me more than it did. I tried to sit up. The bed adjusted itself before I could finish the thought. Easy, a voice said, filtered through a translator that sounded just polite enough to be dangerous. You have exceeded recovery expectations. That was not a sentence I liked hearing. I turned my head and found 3 aliens standing a respectful distance away. All of them wore uniforms heavy with insignia, posture stiff, eyes fixed on me with something that wasn't fear, but definitely wasn't casual. One of them cleared his throat. Human combatant designation, soldier. Your survival outcome has been formally reviewed. Reviewed. Great. I'd been alive long enough to know that reviews rarely ended with congratulations. We regret the delay, he continued. Your reward assignment required consensus. I frowned. My what? A flicker passed through their expressions. Surprise. Confusion. One of them whispered something that didn't translate, but the tone absolutely did. The tone said, he doesn't know. Human doctrine, the lead alien said carefully, does not include post-survival compensation? Usually includes a drink, I said. Sometimes a limp. Silence fell so hard it could have dented armor. They stared at me like I'd just confessed to fighting naked. The alien closest to the console tapped at it nervously. The human survived an engagement with a projected fatality rate exceeding 97%. He muttered. Alone. Another nodded. And did not request restitution. That word again, restitution. Reward. Assignment. I didn't like where this was going. Look, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. If this is about medals or public recognition, you can keep it. I'm just here to receive. The lead alien interrupted. What has already been granted? The room shifted. Not physically, socially. The air changed the way it does right before something expensive breaks. A door slid open with a sound far too smooth for my comfort. She stepped in. I noticed her the way the body notices gravity changes, instantly, instinctively, without permission. Tall, graceful, covered in fine fur that shifted color with the light, ears high and alert, tail moving with measured intent. Her uniform was fitted in a way that looked ceremonial rather than restrictive, and her eyes, bright, feline, and possibly calm, locked onto me with professional focus. Not hunger. Not flirtation. Assessment. She stopped a precise distance from my bedside and bowed. I am assigned, she said, voice steady, as your personal attendant. The translator did me no favors with that phrase. I blinked once. Twice. I'm sorry, I said carefully. Your what? Personal attendant, she repeated, as if clarifying a data point. Bonded morale asset. Rank verified. Behind her, one of the officers looked like he might faint. My brain latched onto the word bonded and refused to let go. I think there's been a mistake, I said. I didn't request anything. Her ears twitched. Requests are not required for honor service. Honor service. That somehow made it worse. She stepped closer. Not aggressively. Purposefully. The bed's sensors reacted before I did, adjusting temperature and support. Her tail flicked once behind her, slow and controlled, and the translator rendered her next sentence with ruthless efficiency. I will remain within optimal proximity to ensure your comfort. I swallowed. Proximity, I echoed. Yes. Optimal, I tried. Yes. And comfort. She tilted her head, studying my vitals on a hovering display. You appear tense. That was because I was. She raised a hand, paused, hesitated just long enough to register that pause mattered, and then lowered it again. Physical reassurance is available upon request. I nearly choked on air. I'm good, I said quickly. Very good. Extremely reassured already. Confusion rippled through her posture. You have not yet received the reward. That's okay, I said. I don't need. Her ears flattened slightly. Declining an assigned bond implies dissatisfaction. I glanced at the officers. They were watching this exchange the way one watches a live explosive, wide-eyed, frozen, absolutely unwilling to intervene. What exactly? I asked slowly. Does servant mean where you come from? She straightened, clearly pleased to clarify. It is an honor-bound role granted to those who have proven exceptional endurance. I am tasked with ensuring your morale stability, emotional regulation, and recovery compliance. Every word sounded reasonable. Every word also sounded like something I should not be hearing while half naked in a recovery bed. And you volunteered? I asked. Yes. Why? Her gaze held mine, steady and unblinking. Humans do not expect reward for survival. One of the officers whispered, reverent. It is said they fight as if survival is its own duty. She nodded. Such restraint is compelling. That was when I realized the problem. I wasn't the one being rewarded. I was the reason the reward existed at all. She took another step closer, not enough to touch, but enough that I could feel warmth, presence, intention. Her tail brushed the air near my arm, close enough to register without making contact, and the translator chimed cheerfully in my ear. Comfort protocols will begin once you are fully conscious. I laughed. It slipped out of me before I could stop it, short, sharp, disbelieving. Yeah, I said. This is definitely not what humans mean by thank you. She watched me with open curiosity. Then, she asked genuinely, what do humans expect after surviving the impossible? I looked around the room. At the silent officers. At the alien who had just been assigned to my personal space like a living, breathing consequence. Honestly? I said. To be left alone. That answer landed like a shockwave. Her ears lifted. Her tail stilled. Fascinating, she murmured. And that was when I knew this wasn't going to end with paperwork. This was my reward. And somehow, that made me the most dangerous human in the room. She did not leave. That, apparently, was the first comfort protocol. I learned this because no matter how many times I closed my eyes, adjusted my position, or very politely suggested I was fine on my own, she remained exactly where, optimal proximity, placed her, close enough to be aware of every change in my breathing, far enough to claim professionalism. Her presence was efficient. The bed adjusted when my shoulders tightened. The light softened when my pupils dilated. A soft hum resonated through the chamber whenever my heart rate spiked, which happened far more often than I like to admit. You are experiencing elevated stress, she said, eyes flicking between me and her display. I'm awake in an alien hospital with a bonded morale asset, I replied. I think I'm allowed a little stress. She considered this. Allowance granted. That was not reassuring. She moved around the bed with fluid precision, checking instruments I didn't recognize, her tail swaying behind her in slow, deliberate arcs. Every time it moved, my attention followed. Every time my attention followed, the bed responded by adjusting firmness, like it was tattling on me. Your reactions are inconsistent, she observed. Welcome to humans. No, she said calmly. You are exhibiting restraint. I snorted. You're standing in my personal space talking about comfort protocols. This is me being restrained. Her ears twitched. Clarify. I gestured vaguely between us. Most species would assume expectations. Expectations have already been defined, she said. I am here to serve. That word again. Serve? I repeated. You keep using that one. Yes. What does it involve? She straightened, clearly pleased to enumerate. I will monitor your physical condition, regulate environmental stimuli, provide emotional stabilization, remain accessible during rest cycles, and ensure morale recovery through consistent presence. I waited. She tilted her head. Additionally, I am authorized for tactile reassurance if distress indicators exceed threshold. There it was. I don't think your translators understand how that sounds. They are calibrated for accuracy. Yeah, I said. That's the problem. She stepped closer, gaze intent, not flirtatious, focused. Your discomfort is increasing. No kidding. Would verbal reassurance assist? Maybe try explaining why I'm apparently worth all this trouble. She paused. For the first time, there was hesitation. You survived, she said, without requesting compensation. That's normal. Her eyes widened slightly. It is not. She activated a holographic projection between us, statistics, casualty projections, comparative models. I recognized the battle instantly. I remembered the fire, the silence afterward, the part where I decided breathing was optional until the shooting stopped. You continued to fight, she said softly. After command withdrawal. Someone had to make sure they got out. You did not issue a claim. Claim? For reward. For bond consideration. I rubbed my face. We don't do that. You do your job. If you live, great. If you don't, well. Her tail stilled. That philosophy is considered extreme. Figures. In my culture, she continued, survival beyond expectation creates obligation. A life taken from probability must be balanced. And that balance is, you? Yes. I stared at her. Do you want to be here? The question hit harder than I expected. Her ears angled back, not in fear, but in thought. I volunteered, she said finally. Assignment to a human survivor is considered prestigious. Because? Because humans do not exploit reward. I laughed quietly. You say that like it's noble. It is terrifying, she corrected. Species who do not claim dominance after proving it are unpredictable. That sounded about right. She moved again, closer this time, lowering herself into a seated position beside the bed, not on it, beside it. The distinction mattered to her. It mattered to me too. You have not once issued a directive, she said. Most recipients begin within moments. Begin what? Utilization. I choked on air. I'm sorry, what? Her eyes flicked up, genuinely puzzled. Use of services. Yeah, we're not doing that. Refusal suggests dissatisfaction. It suggests I don't want to treat a person like a prize. She went very still. I am not a person, she said. I am a servant. No, I said firmly. You're a someone who chose to be here. Her gaze searched my face, like she was trying to reconcile data with reality. You are correcting my role. I'm redefining it. That is not permitted. Get used to it. Her tail gave a small, involuntary flick. The display beside her flashed briefly, alert indicators, recalibrations. Your species destabilizes protocol, she murmured. Occupational hazard. She studied me for a long moment, then did something unexpected. She smiled. It wasn't human. It was subtle, almost restrained, like an idea she wasn't sure she was allowed to enjoy. If I am not a reward, she said slowly, then what am I? I considered that. Right now? A very confusing nurse. Her ears flicked forward. Nurse. Yeah. Someone who helps because they choose to. Silence settled, not awkward this time. Thoughtful. I will remain, she said eventually. Not as servant. As? Observer, she decided. Of human behavior. I smirked. Careful. That leads to attachments. Her tail swayed once, slow and deliberate. Attachments are already implied? I lay back, exhaling. You know this is going to cause problems. Yes, she said calmly. But not for you. I glanced at her. How do you figure? Because you do not expect reward, she replied. Which makes you immune to disappointment. She adjusted the light again, softer now, and the hum eased into something almost pleasant. Rest, she said. I will remain within acceptable proximity. I closed my eyes, painfully aware of her presence, her warmth, the careful distance she maintained out of respect rather than rule. For the first time since the battle, I slept. And somewhere deep in the alien bureaucracy, a red alert quietly began flashing. I woke up to the sound of arguing. Not shouting, alien shouting is very different, but the kind of tense, clipped exchange that means someone important has made a decision everyone else now has to explain. My attendant, observer, apparently, was still there. Same distance. Same posture. Same impossible calm. You were not meant to remain unconscious this long, she said. Sorry, I replied. Humans recharge inefficiently. That aligns with the data. Voices hushed as soon as I opened my eyes. Several unfamiliar figures stood near the perimeter, uniforms denser with rank markers than the last group. They were all staring at me like I'd wandered into the wrong meeting and accidentally been promoted. One of them stepped forward. Human soldier. There has been discussion. That's rarely good. You have failed to engage your assigned morale asset. I glanced at her. She didn't look offended. If anything, she looked curious. Engage how? I asked. The official hesitated. Utilization has not been logged. Because I haven't used anyone. A murmur rippled through the group. She has remained within proximity, another said. Comfort protocols are active. Passive protocols, my attendant corrected. At his request. Their eyes snapped to her. You accepted modification? Yes. That is not standard. Neither is the human. That earned her a look. The lead official folded his hands. Your behavior has created interpretive instability. I smiled faintly. Happy to help. He did not smile back. Your species' refusal to claim reward is causing concern. Why? Because it contradicts established dominance models. That explained the tension. The galaxy liked its boxes labeled. Humans apparently showed up, kicked one over, and refused to stand in any of the others. You survived an encounter that should have ended you, he continued. You were offered honor service. You declined authority. I declined ownership. Those are not equivalent. They are to us. My attendant shifted beside me. Not closer. Just aligned. He has not rejected service, she said. He has reframed it. The officials exchanged looks. Explain, one demanded. He treats me as autonomous, she replied. That is novel. Novel. That was a polite word for system breaking. Another officer leaned forward, eyes sharp. Do you derive satisfaction from this reframing? She considered. I derive curiosity. That landed poorly. Curiosity, apparently, was not an approved metric. I sighed. Look, I didn't ask for any of this. I'm grateful. Really. But where I come from, surviving isn't a bargaining chip. It is everywhere else, the lead official said. Survival earns leverage. Then you're going to keep misunderstanding us. Silence stretched. You have altered her role, he said finally. And in doing so, you have altered her status. I frowned. Is she in trouble? No, he said. She is elevated. Her ears lifted slightly. Bonded morale assets are meant to stabilize recipients, he continued. Instead, she is reporting stabilization through voluntary engagement. She's choosing to be here, I said. That's the difference. That choice, he said carefully, is being observed. By whom? I didn't ask. I didn't need to. They stepped back, consulting quietly. My attendant leaned toward me just enough for the translator to lower its volume. They are unsettled, she said. I noticed. You have become a case study. Lucky me. She hesitated. There is speculation. About? Your desirability. I laughed. You've seen me. That can't be it. Not physical, she said. Behavioral. I blinked. I'm desirable because I don't want anything? Yes. I stared at the ceiling. That's depressing. It is efficient, she countered. Species accustomed to dominance do not know how to respond to restraint. That's their problem. Her tail flicked once, amused. It is becoming yours. The officials returned. Given the unprecedented circumstances, the lead said, your reward classification is under review. Good. However, he added, the bonded asset will remain assigned pending outcome. I looked at her. You okay with that? She met my gaze without hesitation. I am. That surprised me more than anything else so far. The group departed, tension trailing after them like static. For a while neither of us spoke. You didn't have to defend me, I said eventually. I did, she replied. You altered my expectations. That sounds dangerous. Yes, she said. I find it appealing. There it was again, that word with weight behind it. Careful, I said. That's how attachments happen. She tilted her head. You warn me often. Because they're messy. Messy, she repeated. But voluntary. Always. She shifted her posture slightly, relaxing in a way I hadn't seen before. If I am not a servant, nor merely an observer, what do you consider me? I thought about that longer than I expected. A partner in figuring this out? Her ears angled forward. Partnership implies mutual consideration. Yes. And shared agency. Also yes. She smiled again, a little more confidently this time. That will cause administrative difficulty. Humans are great at that. Her display chimed softly. You are being flagged. Already? Yes. For what? She glanced at the readout, then back at me. Influence. I winced. That sounds serious. It is not negative, she assured me. Merely contagious. I rubbed my temples. I just wanted to sleep. You did, she said. Effectively. That might be the problem. She rose smoothly, pacing just enough to think. Other assets have begun requesting reassignment. To humans? Yes. Because of me? Because of you not using me. I stared. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. High praise, she said dryly. From a species that weaponizes boredom. Hey, boredom's how we get creative. Her tail swayed. That is being noticed as well. I exhaled slowly. So what happens now? Now, she said, stopping beside me. The galaxy must decide whether humans are an anomaly or a precedent. And you? I have decided already. I looked at her. Decided what? That I will remain, she said. Not because I am assigned, but because you want to. Yes. I smiled despite myself. Careful. That's how revolutions start. She smiled back, eyes bright. Then perhaps this is your greatest victory. Somewhere far above us, policies rewrote themselves. And humanity, once again, won a war without realizing it had been fighting one. By the time the paperwork caught up to us, I was already a problem. Not officially. Official problems came with warnings. I was an emerging variable. That was the phrase they used when they didn't know whether to salute you or quarantine you. My companion, because that was the word I insisted on, stood beside me as the lead administrator read from a floating slate that kept changing terms mid-sentence. Designation revision in progress, he said stiffly. Formerly bonded morale asset, now voluntary associate. She leaned toward me. They are struggling. Good, I murmured. It builds character. The administrator cleared his throat. Human soldier, your refusal to exercise reward privileges has resulted in cascading behavioral anomalies. I keep telling you, I said. I'm not refusing anything. I just don't see people as perks. That philosophy, he said, is destabilizing 3 departments. She flicked her tail once, proud. 4, actually. Cultural exchange is in uproar. I shot her a look. You didn't tell me that. You were resting, she replied. Comfort protocol. I snorted. Still sounds illegal. The administrator pressed on. Multiple bonded assets have submitted reassignment interest. To me? I asked. To humanity, he corrected. Specifically to non-utilizing humans. That's not a phrase I want associated with my species. It is already, he said. Your behavior suggests dominance without enforcement. I shrugged. We call that manners. That did it. The slate flickered red. Your species survived by cooperation, the administrator said. But you reject hierarchy. We reject abuse of it. Semantics. Morals, I countered. He studied me, then her. And you? Do you still consider yourself his reward? She answered without hesitation. No. Then why remain? She turned to me briefly before replying. Because he treats my presence as a choice. The administrator stiffened. Choice complicates compliance. That's kind of our brand, I said. A silence followed. Not the awkward kind, the dangerous kind where institutions decide whether to adapt or double down. Finally, the administrator exhaled. Very well. A new classification will be issued. I raised a brow. What kind? He glanced at the slate. Mutual affiliation. Non-exclusive. Voluntary. Her ears lifted. Non-exclusive? I coughed. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. She looked amused. You fear abundance? I fear paperwork. That earned a ripple of uncomfortable laughter from the observing aides. Humor, apparently, was another human contagion. The administrator tapped the slate. You will be released from recovery shortly. Back to duty? No, he said. Observation. Of you? I smiled. Figures. When they left, the room felt lighter. Not emptier, lighter. She moved closer now without checking displays, settling into the space like it was earned rather than assigned. So, I said. What now? Now, she replied. We redefine reward. Careful. That's a big word. In my culture, she said, reward is given to acknowledge worth. And in mine, I said, worth isn't transactional. She considered that. Then why do humans celebrate? Because it feels good, I said. Not because it's owed. Her tail swayed slowly. You are inconsistent. Extremely. She smiled, more openly now. I find it grounding. I swung my legs off the bed. You know they're going to study this, right? Study us. Yes. You okay being a data point? I prefer participant. That's dangerously close to enthusiasm. Is that bad? Only if you start enjoying it. Her eyes gleamed. Too late. We walked, slowly, deliberately, past observation windows where aliens pretended not to stare. Whispers followed us, translations lagging just enough to make everything sound more suggestive than intended. Is that the human? He didn't claim her. She chose him. Why? That's the problem. I leaned toward her. We're famous. Infamous, she corrected. But trending. Great. I always wanted to be a cautionary tale. We stopped near a viewport overlooking a docking ring. Ships of a dozen species rotated in orderly patterns, each following rules older than most of them. You changed things, she said quietly. I didn't mean to. That is why it matters. I looked at her. You could still leave. Yes, she said. I could. But you won't. No. Why? She took a breath, a deliberate, learned human gesture. Because with you, service is not submission. And with you, I replied, presence isn't obligation. Her tail brushed my wrist, accidentally, she would later insist. The contact was brief, warm, entirely unnecessary. The translator chimed. Physiological indicators suggest mutual comfort. I grimaced. Turn that off. She smiled. No. Figures. An alert flashed across the viewport. Policy update issued. Human interaction guidelines revised. She read it quickly. Humans are now classified as voluntary anchors. Anchors? Yes. Species exhibiting disproportionate emotional stabilization in mixed environments. I laughed. We're therapy now? You always were, she said. You just charged in stories instead of credits. I leaned on the rail. So this is it. My shocking reward. She tilted her head. You are dissatisfied? No, I said. Just surprised. Surprise, she said thoughtfully, is the beginning of attachment. Careful, I warned. That's a slippery slope. Humans enjoy slopes, she replied. You build on them. I met her gaze. You staying because you want to, or because you're curious how this ends? Yes, she said. That answer felt right. A ship disengaged from the ring, engines flaring. Somewhere inside it, another human was probably waking up, confused, alive, expecting nothing. The galaxy would struggle with that. With us. I straightened. Come on. Let's go make this worse. She laughed, actually laughed, and fell into step beside me. Not as a servant. Not as a reward. But as someone who chose to stay. And that, apparently, was humanity's most dangerous habit of all.